So let's get started. We're all strapped in, ready to go. This is the Sunday's matches in the Barclays Premier League. There were 4 fixtures last night. I saw one in its entirety, and I watched the first half of the second before my sleep started to descend over me. But I did watch the highlights of the end of that match and the other 2 this morning, and so this is my roundup. So we got started in South London, Craven Cottage, Fulham against Everton. Everton have rather gone off the boil, 3 defeats after an impressive start. So Ancelotti was certainly looking to get back on the winning way. Fulham, well, basically Fulham basically struggled to get the 3 points they have, but they've also showed they've got an attractive edge to their football, but their defence is just full of holes and not watertight at all. The look of the weather was encouraging, a little cool, but sun was shining right there on the River Thames. I've been there many times when I was a boy and a teenager, and it's a lovely setting to watch a game of football, that has to be said. So anyway, off we went, and I arrived on the internet to the party, so to speak, on minute 4. And there was already 1 goal stroked up. I did see that goal on replay, and it happened after 2 minutes when Richarlison, who got down the left flank, got a lot of pace, that Brazilian, it has to be said, and his a quick cross found Lewin, who was a foot in front of the defender, and he prodded it home, and that was 1-0 to the Toffees. Just a point of reference, the Brazilian and the 2 Colombians had arrived back only on Friday, apparently. However, the 2 Colombians were probably pleased to get back, because in World Cup qualifiers, playing for Colombia in the week, they came away with 2 defeats, and the second one was particularly heinous. I think they lost to Colombia by, Ecuador by 5-1 or something. Mina got sent off in the first one, so he missed the second. So that's a little bit of extra info for you. But anyway, they were looking bright 1 up. Fulham, well, they kept on losing the ball. That was the problem, in dangerous areas, and they were lucky not to go further behind. But on 12 minutes, a scuff shot from Reed was just inches wide. That was from a good cross by Robinson. And then improving by the minute, on 14 minutes, Fulham equalised through a Godova Reed. They've got 2 Reeds, one was got a Godova in it. And he played a neat one too with Kearney, and then he put his shot wide of the advancing Pickford. The said Mina looked terribly lethargic in working out that little neat move, and by the time he had, it was in the back of the net. So 1-1, parity restored to Fulham. Then a little bit later, Lewin again managed to get the ball in the net, but he was deemed offside. That was from an Iwobi across, and Iwobi was looking quite lively on the right there. And then a good save from a Richarlison shot kept the Everton attack at bay. But they couldn't do much about the 29th minute. Great flowing move down the left, and Dana, he's got a great left foot, and he swept it in first time really into the box, and it was met by Lewin, and he managed to steer it into the net for 2-1. There was a suspicion of an offside. VAR had a look, but they decided that it was a good goal, and so back in front, the Toffees 2-1. 6 minutes later, they doubled that lead. Decore again rising head and shoulders above everybody to meet a second cross from Dana, and it hit the back of the net before the keeper had even an inkling. And that started with a great cross-through ball for James. The first really thing of note that he'd done that half, but it certainly carved open Fulham, and so they were down 3-1. And Everton were looking very confident as they got to the break. So second half, it got off a fairly sedentary pace. It looked like Everton had sort of taken the foot off the pedal a little bit, and they started to defend a lot further back, and it gave Fulham an edge of confidence, really. And then there was an error by Godfrey, and a penalty was awarded, and Carrero stepped up, and he somehow managed to slip at the point of impact, and the ball skied wide. So he's the third penalty taker that Fulham have had this season, and they've all missed. So it looked like the writing was on the wall, but there was then a nice interchange between Mitrovic and Loftus-Cheek, and that was an indication of what happened on 69 minutes. Across from the right, byline for Lookman, and he managed to put it on the 6-yard box area, and Loftus-Cheek arrived and he directed his shot goalwards. It did deflect past Pickford, but they were back to 3-2, and it started worrying signs really for Everton after that, with Fulham really going for it, but they couldn't find that equaliser, and so we got to the final whistle. Another defeat for Scott Parker. Winning ways restored by Ancelotti. Everton, great performance in the first half, but fell away in the second half. The substitutions couldn't really raise the spirits either. Sigurdsson came on. But final score at Craven Cottage was Fulham 2, Everton 3. Next up then, Bramall Lane. Sheffield United are home to West Ham. Well, Sheffield United are holding everybody up at the moment, just a measly 1 point from their 8 fixtures. They've competed in all of them and might count themselves a little bit unlucky, but I'm afraid you get nothing for bad luck in this league, and Wilder knows that. They were entertaining West Ham, who'd really picked their form up in the last few games and were getting pretty close to that top 6. Into the team news, and I couldn't see much change. Haller was deputising for West Ham up front, and Noble's still on the bench, Lanzini there as well, but for Sheffield United they had McBurney and McGoldrick up front. So off we got, and Sheffield really took the game early on. They were really first to the ball, the second balls, and on 2 minutes a great move put Bulldog in as he swept in from the right, and his first time shot caused a little stir for Fabianski, although he was good enough to push it away. 9 minutes I had to say, and I wrote it down, that the Blades were looking quite dangerous, but still that elusive goal is missing from open play. They've only had one all season. 23rd minute, Norwood back in the starting lineup, and also Fleck back. He'd been out for a number of months. Norwood set up McBurney, but a timid effort from the big striker, and Fabianski good enough. 27 minutes, the first real opportunity for West Ham, who were sort of slowly easing their way into the game, and Sofel on the right tested Ramsdale with a power shot, but it was dealt with quite easily by the keeper. And we got to minute 33, and Soucek was the final recipient from a Haller header, but his volley went wide. But it was a good opportunity for West Ham, and it certainly suggested that they were starting to take control of this game. 40 minutes of McBurney header did test Fabianski, but we got to the interval goalless. Second half action then, and West Ham was certainly looking the better side at this point. On 51 minutes, Ramsdale had to be smart to smother an effort from Haller, who was getting more into the game. And the same man, 4 minutes later, took advantage of the ball breaking to him after some good approach work, and his strike was a clean one, and it hit the top corner of the net to put the Hammers 1-up. Rice on 72 headed Creswell's corner onto the bar. A late rally from the Blades. McBurney hit the crossbar from inside the box, but it really would have been easier to have scored. But that's basically how things are going for the Blades these days, and they really didn't have that punch up front. And we arrived at the full-time whistle, and West Ham had won this game by a single goal. Final score at Bramall Lane was Sheffield United 0, West Ham 1. The interviews by the two managers, I was particularly impressed with Wilder. He's got a very sort of a realistic view of how things need to move on, and he wasn't asking for any sort of favours at all. He basically said that we've got to roll our sleeves up here, and we've got to stop saying to each of us that we were unlucky not to get anything out of that. He's basically saying you get what you deserve. Moyes, on the other hand, is certainly got a smile on his face these days. West Ham now, I think they creeped up to about 7th in the table and looking good. So that's my summary of Sheffield United 0, West Ham 1. Now to the two games where I saw only brief highlights. Let's go to Ellen Road first. Leeds home to Arsenal. Both sides gone off the boil a little bit mid-table. And to the action, 9 minutes. Sabias, get it right. He struck a shot from distance, but it went just wide. 20 minutes. A dangerous cross from Pepe caused some consternation in the Leeds defence. And then up the other end, Nafinha, he's, I think, a new acquisition, shot just wide after a neat break by Leeds. But we got to the half-time whistle goalless, and it really hadn't been much of a classic. Difficult to say who had the edge, really. But into the second half, and we'd only played an extra 4 minutes when there was a rash of anger from one Pepe with one of the Leeds players. I didn't catch him, but it resulted in him headbutting the Leeds player, and the referee saw it and had no hesitation in producing a red card. So the Gunners were down to 10, and they had to play the best part of the second half. Leno made a great save from Dallas on 63, and there were more opportunities for Leeds as the half went on. 79 minutes, a great strike from Rodrigo hit the woodwork, and then there was a half a chance for Arsenal on 83 when Saka managed to beat the offside trap, but the goalkeeper blocked it. And that's the way it finished. A disappointing game, a disappointing result really for both managers. It was interesting listening to Arteta when asked to comment on the red card. He just said unacceptable, and he repeated that 4 times, refusing to be drawn in to more clear-cut thoughts about his young player. So, final score then: Elland Road, Leeds 0, Arsenal 0. So the last fixture on Sunday night was the top of the table clash. Liverpool, who started this round of matches second, against Leicester, who were top. Of course, now Spurs were at the summit. But anyway, Liverpool, of course, they've got loads of injuries. Another defender, Joe Gomez, isn't going to be able to play for some while. Salah, of course, has got COVID, so he's out for a couple of weeks. So Diego Jota was installed alongside Firmino and Mane. And Milner was in at right back because, of course, Alexander-Arnold is out for some time with another injury. Leicester, to be frank, I didn't really catch the team news, but they looked like they were not at full strength because they got long-term injuries. But their selection was basically the first team that's been playing recently. And we got off to a fairly brisk start. Jones in for Liverpool. He had a shot which was smothered by Schmeichel's feet. And then Jota worked the Big Dane on 12 minutes. And then a little bit later, a great corner by Leicester, met beautifully by Evans, and it sailed past Schmeichel. The only problem is that Evans is a Leicester player, and so he put Liverpool 1-up with an own goal, and his expression told it all really. So the Reds up by a goal to 0. Then Jota managed to bundle Schmeichel into the net from a cross by Robertson. It was an obvious foul, but I found it quite amusing because Jota's such a little guy. 33 minutes, Justin weaved inside, and his shot was inches wide of the diving Alisson. And then 40 minutes, an absolutely deft header from Jota from a Robertson cross on the left, sailed past Schmeichel, and that was 2-0. There was a late effort by Telemans, but Alisson was good enough. So 2-0 at the break. Hadn't really seen Vardy at all. He was snuffed out by the Liverpool defence, and they didn't really seem like they were missing Van Dijk and Gomez at all. But into the second half, another save by Schmeichel, this time from Mane, and then 2 minutes later he had to be alert again to deny Jota. But on 72 minutes, Firmino, it was a rather crazy sort of scenario, ended up with Firmino hitting the post and Schmeichel managing to get in the way of a follow-up. But 85 minutes he could do nothing about An absolutely beautiful corner by Milner, and Firmino managed to get his head to it, and it went in the corner, and he was a very happy man indeed, because he doesn't score that many goals at Anfield, but he was successful tonight, and that was Liverpool's third, and that wrapped it up. Final score at Anfield, a very, very happy Klopp and a very, very happy Liverpool 3 and Leicester 0. Rodgers was pretty realistic about it all, didn't get too down in the dumps, but he knew he'd been beaten by a much better side. So that puts Liverpool in second behind Spurs at the summit. And let's just have a quick look at the table. We've still got 2 matches to play on Monday, of course. But Spurs and Liverpool on 20 points. Chelsea and Leicester on 18 in third and fourth. Southampton, who played tonight, and Everton are on 16. Villa down in 7th now, they've got 15. West Ham up to 8th with 14. Crystal Palace, Man U, Arsenal and Wolves all on 13. Manchester City on 13th with only 12 points. And then we've got Leeds and Newcastle on 11, Brighton 9, and the 4 who are cut away at the bottom. Fulham on 4, West Brom 3, Burnley 2, and Sheffield United now 8 losses, 1 draw with 1 point. So that's your lot. I'll catch up with Monday's fixtures next weekend.